Chairman.
The gentleman yields. Mr. Baird is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, and Mr. Sopko, we appreciate you being here. You know, the vicious attack in August of 21 killed 13 Americans, and others have made reference to that. But the reason I wanted to mention is Corporal Sanchez was from Logansport, Indiana, which was in my district. And then now Afghanistan faces a collapse of their economy, and they face a humanitarian crisis. Back in April, during your testimony to the House Oversight Committee, you mentioned that the State Department and USAID's refusal to provide SIGAR information leaves it impossible to say whether the United States provided taxpayer dollars to the Taliban or the Afghan terror group. So here's my question. Have you received any update, and based on what you've said so far, but have you received any update on this from either the state or USAID? And can you give any clarity if the United States is giving money for humanitarian assistance to the Taliban, or if the Taliban have directed other funds, diverted other funds?
I think in my testimony and my written testimony, we have documented that the Taliban are receiving U.S. funds. We haven't been able to identify the exact amount. And as I mentioned in my statement, you know, thieves usually don't advertise how much they steal. We do know they have done that. We've some of this information came from USAID. Some of that information came from our own hard work of our staff. We've sent out questionnaires to NGOs, and the vast majority of them have said that they have been shook down by the Taliban, have given assistance, and some of that is U.S. assistance to the Taliban. We've also documented that the Taliban has forced NGOs to give assistance to their friends, their soldiers, and not to give it to other people, particularly minorities like the Hazara. So we've done a pretty good, fair job of doing that. We don't have the exact amount. I think we identified of taxes and licensing fees about $10 million for sure. We've documented that went to the Taliban. We are still working on that, and you know, it may take some time, but it's difficult. It's difficult to get that information.
So do they take a tax or a fee on almost everything? Is that how they're getting some of it? And then they divert, in the other cases, they divert it all, is it?
It depends. I mean, there's sort of a, I don't know if one of my staff, I think, referred to as sort of a kleptocrat's handbook on this, that they're following everything you can think of. You got to hire their contractors for drivers. You got to rent the cars from their people. So they're using multiple methods of doing it, and that's the difficult thing. And again, I made the statement is it corroborates, I think, an old statement that those who have the guns have the aid, and they have the guns, and they're using every attempt. What was also troubling is that the Taliban have actually infiltrated the UN organization. And they've infiltrated a number of these NGOs by placing their people in it, in those organizations, and that was documented by other organizations too. So it's just a myriad of ways that they are trying to get this money. And
thank you. I appreciate your information in that regard. And my time's about up, so I yield back.